Neil here. So let's do a little bit longer tutorial at this point. Let's do a furnace. We're going to do a furnace. We want production. There we go. And let's see where we're at. Pretty straightforward. Did it again. Let's get rid of that. I started this video already and then I stopped it because I had, kid stuff to deal with. So let's do that. Let's do a furnace. So we're going to do a new class. We're going to call this a granite. You know what? We've been doing everything NG. Let's just do that. Granite oven. Alright, so the big thing about this particular block, right, because we know this is a block, we put it in blocks, we're going to initialize it as a block. The thing is this has slots in it, so we're going to extend block container. We're going to import that, and it's going to ask us for some stuff. We're going to go ahead and add that in. Material. We do not need a material because we are just going to say that this is going to be material dot rock because it's made out of granite, right? Right. It wants some other stuff, but we're not going to do that just quite yet. Let's do a public static final. This is going to be a property direction, and we're going to call this facing, which is pretty much vanilla at this point. And we are going to say property direction dot create. And which one do we want? We don't really care at this point. So we're going to do create. We're going to say facing. And we're going to say enum facing dot plane dot horizontal. So what is this going to do? This is going to help us determine so like when we plunk down this oven, which direction is it going to face? So if we go into vanilla and we start placing down furnaces, they always face us wherever we put them, right? Whether it's north, south, east, west, what have you. This is going to help us define that as we go. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to do a private final boolean is burning, and this is essentially going to be a reference that we go back and check to see whether or not this thing is actually cooking or not. And then the other thing is going to be a private static boolean, and this is going to be a keep inventory. And really what we're going to be doing with this flag is determining, when we dig this up, right, when we break the block, is it going to keep the inventory or not? And we're going to keep this the same as a regular furnace. We're going to say that it's just going to, as soon as we dig it up, it's going to spit all the items out. Pretty straightforward. So for our parameters in here, what we're going to do is we're going to say boolean is burning. We're of course going to have a string name. We're going to use that string name down here to say this dot set unlocalized name will be the name. Close that up. Just like so. Another thing that we need to do is we're going to say this dot set default state. It's going to be an iBlock state, so we're going to say this dot block state, which it is getting from the class block, which you'll see right here. We are going to get the base state with property facing, and then we're going to have enum facing dot north, just like so. And then we're going to say, we're going to get rid of this to do item. We're going to say this dot is burning is going to be equal to is burning, just like so. So really what we're saying is we define this Boolean value up here. What we're saying is the one that we're bringing over from when we initialize this in our ngBlocks class, whether it's true or false, we're bringing that over. We're setting our local value here to equal that. Pretty straightforward. So let's do this. Let's add our unimplemented methods. Because we're sending block container, we're going to need a tile entity. This is pretty straightforward. We have our world. Let's just change that to world. And then our int meta. That's fine. That's fine. Are we going to return null? No, we are not. We are going to return a new tile entity. We don't have any tile entities yet, so we are going to do granite oven, just like so. And we're going to spell tile right.
Could you imagine if I did that on like
there we go. Sweet. So let's save that up. We're going to come over here and we're going to do a new package, and this is going to be a dot tile entity, just like so. And then of course we are going to create a class. We are going to put that into tile entity. Tile entity, grab it on. There we go. We have that there. Now it's still going to give us an error because we have to do that, of course. There we go. No errors. No errors. We're good so far. So we can still run our mod and it's not going to give us any errors, even though we don't have anything in our tile entity yet. That's all right, because we have a lot of work to do on this block class before we even get there. So let's do a few more methods and then we'll call it good. So we're going to do public item get item dropped, which is going to be an iBlock state, which will just be block. We're going to have random, get the caps there, random rand, and then we're going to have an integer for fortune. Let's go ahead and do our imports. We want that one, and then we want Java for random. There we go. And what we're going to do is we are going to return.
How? That's so dumb.
No. Just like so. And the reason that we're going to do that is because when we dig this up, we have to return back the block that we're doing, which is our granite oven, right? So what we're going to have to do now is we're going to have to actually come into our blocks and find those. So let's go into NG blocks. Where we're going to put this? Let's put it under machines. So we're going to have a public static block, and we're going to have a granite oven idle. In addition to that, we are going to have a granite oven active. And this is essentially going to distinguish between the two states that we have, which is either it's not cooking or it is actually cooking. So let's register these bad boys right now. Right now, we're going to do machines. There's a game registry
I'm just left with nuts.
register block. We're going to have our idle version. We're going to have our active version. So, with our idle version, we're going to come inside this parenthetical. We're going to say this is going to be equal to a new NG granite oven, because we have to set the parameters essentially here, right? So what we did, right, was when we pass this along to the granite oven, this is the idle version. This means that it's not cooking. So what we're going to do is we have to pass along these two things. So is this burning? Well, if it's the idle version, it's not. So we need to make sure that we set that to false because it's a Boolean. And then we also need to pass along the unlocalized name. So we are going to say that it is false, and our unlocalized name will be granite oven idle. This is important because when we start getting into our JSON files to render this, we need to make sure that we're passing along the non-cooking version of this block. So do we set the creative tab? Okay, so here's the deal. If we set the creative tab here in the block, it's going to return both the active and the idle versions. We don't want the active version to actually show up. So what we're going to do is we're going to say set creative tab, and that is going to be ng global.ng creative tab, just like so. And then of course we need to put in our name, which is just going to be granite oven idle, like so. We'll save that. We should have no errors. We're good. So let's do our active version. So this means that it is actually cooking when we do it. This is actually going to be true, and we're going to have granite oven active, like so. We're not going to pass along our creative tab because we do not want the active version in the creative tab. It wouldn't work anyways, right? So let's go ahead and pass along our name, granite oven active, like so. Let's save that up. We'll come back to our block class, and what we're actually going to return here is going to be, we are going to return item get item from block, and that is going to be ng blocks dot granite oven idle. So when we dig this up, this is what is going to come out. There we have it. We're going to do one more class at this point, and that is going to be a public void on block added. We're going to be calling out world. We're going to be calling out our block position and our block state. Let's do our import of the block position. There we go. And we are going to say this dot set default. I wanted. That's interesting. Why doesn't it like that? I'm not referencing something right here. Set default. This needs to be facing. But it's going to give me an error and I'm not sure why. And that just needs to be world position state. That's because I need to do that method. I'm not smart. Let me see. I'm going to have to leave you with some errors, unfortunately. And then the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to do a private void set default facing. And it's going to have world. We need to pass along pretty much the same thing that we did up above. That'll leave us with no errors at this point. We have a lot that we need to fill in here, and really what this method is going to do is it's just going to tell us that when we place a block, where's it going to face, right? And I talked about this earlier, right? So when you have a furnace, you place it down, it faces you, right? So with this method, fuck it. Let's do... How do we start this? Okay. I know how we do it. If
Dude, I got like 7 kills.
world
I went on a 7 kill streak with the knuckles.
dot is remote, we are going to say block
Total slayer.
block 1
You got my up top.
no, we'll just say block 0, and then block 2, block 3, that's import block, nat.minecraft.block, just like so. So what we're going to do is for each one of these, we're going to say equals world dot get block state, and it is going to be the position dot north dot get block.
I got a hit marker. Wow.
Pos
So
dot
much.
north, like so. Yes. Dot get block, like so. Okay. We're pretty much going to repeat this for all of them. Get
Some of you made
block state,
but that's
pos
a
dot
sacrifice I'm willing to make.
south.
We were playing hardcore team deathmatch and Paul will win find it.
we're going to have a world dot get block state pos dot east
I called in one when I got about 18
dot
kills.
get block, and we are going to have a world dot get block state pos dot west dot get block. Good. So now what we have to do, right? So this is kind of the tricky part, right? So we have our block positions. So what's going to happen is when we're playing Minecraft, we don't have any errors. So let's just roll it up, and I'll kind of explain this a little bit. It didn't like it. Why not? Oh, we haven't done anything with that. Okay. That's all right. That's all right. We'll come back to it. Enum facing, and we'll just call this enum is going to be equal to enum facing state dot get value facing, like so. Let's do some imports. For some reason it's not liking that.
What the hell?
I've already imported enum facing. Why is it not working? Why doesn't it like that? That's weird. Huh. Oh, because I'm using enum, that's not valid. Let's do enum facing. There we go. So, when you have a furnace, right, and you place it in the north, right, the front of it is facing you, which if you're facing north, it's then the furnace will be facing south. So that's what we essentially need to do with each of these. So we are going to say if enum facing is equal to enum facing dot north and block dot is full. What is oh, you know what? No. Block 0 dot is full block, and
I chased
is
that person
not
forever,
block
and I still
1
think I'd use my brass knuckles.
dot is full block. Then what we need to do is we need to say enum facing equals enum facing dot south. So we're inverting them. That's really what's happening here, is we're saying that if we're facing north, when we place this block, it's going to face us, which would be south, right? So you can really do the math on this, and we're going to put each of these in, just like so. If we're facing south, it is going to go north, and we need need to make sure, of course, that we're changing this to block 1, and this is going to be block 0 because we're inverting these. So if we're facing north and it's block 0 and it's not block 1, which block 1 is of course the one where we are facing south,
7 and 10.
right? You can kind of follow the logic on that. So this is going to be west. Which one is west? That is block 3. And it is not facing east, which is block 2. It will be east. And then, of course, this one is going to be east, which is block 2, and is not block 3, and the facing will be west. And then finally, what we're going to do is we're going to say world.set block state is going to be position. It's going to be state dot with property facing enum facing, and we're gonna slap in a 2 right here and close this up, and we will be good to go. All right, so there you have it. We still have a lot of work to do on this block class, so we will come back to that later. In the meantime, be sure to check out my website at neilgaming.net. Please like, comment, and subscribe. That helps me a lot. I also want to throw out there, I generate most of my revenue from my videos through ad revenue. So if you have ad block, if you could, turn that off before visiting my videos, and that way I can get that ad revenue. I greatly appreciate it. If you have any questions, comments, of course, leave them below. I have my Discord channel. You can add me on Skype. You can email me, all that jazz. Thanks, lots of love, and I will see you next time.